There is a particular kind of silence that arrives the morning after a funeral. It is not peaceful. It is not gentle. It is the kind of silence that makes you aware of every small sound, the hum of the refrigerator, the ticking of a clock, the distant rush of traffic, because the one sound you expect is missing. On the morning after Michael Smith was buried, Jennifer woke at 5:12 a.m. She did not need an alarm. For 38 years, her body had learned the rhythm of his breathing beside her. He had always stirred around 5, cleared his throat softly, shifted the blankets, reached for his glasses on the nightstand. This morning, Jennifer reached out instinctively. Her hand met only cool cotton sheets. She did not cry, not at first. She lay still, staring at the faint blue light gathering along the edges of the curtains, and for a brief, disorienting second, she imagined he was already downstairs making coffee. Then memory returned. The hospital hallway, the doctor's careful voice, the word sudden, the word massive, the word sorry. At 56 years old, Jennifer Smith was a widow, and for the first time since she was 19, she had no idea who she was without someone needing her. Jennifer had not meant to build her entire adult life around other people. It simply happened gradually, like sediment settling at the bottom of a river. When she was 19, she had been loud in class, opinionated, passionate about environmental systems and climate modeling. She had chosen environmental science as her major because she loved patterns, rainfall data, soil composition, the quiet mathematics behind ecosystems. She had believed she would spend her life studying the planet. Then she met Michael. He was 2 years ahead of her, charismatic, already talking about graduate school and research publications. He had a way of explaining complex ideas that made people lean closer. They studied together in the campus library, drank cheap coffee at midnight, debated policy and philosophy. When she discovered she was pregnant during her sophomore year, fear wrapped around her chest like wire. Michael had held her hands across the small dorm room desk. "We'll make it work," he said. She believed him. She took a leave of absence from school, just 1 year, she told herself. Just until the baby is older, just until things settle. Life, however, rarely settles. Ashley was nearly 3 when the pediatrician suggested further evaluation. "She's bright," the doctor said gently, "but there are some developmental patterns we should look at." She remembered the sterile smell of the clinic, the bright fluorescent lights, the way Ashley lined up crayons by color on the floor while adults spoke above her. Mild autism spectrum disorder. The words did not feel catastrophic. They felt clarifying. Ashley struggled with eye contact, with transitions, with certain social cues. Loud environments overwhelmed her. She needed speech therapy, structured routines, patience. Jennifer sat in the driver's seat of their aging sedan afterward, hands gripping the steering wheel. Ashley buckled quietly in the back. She had a choice: return to school and attempt to balance therapy schedules with classes and Michael's unstable academic path, or anchor the family. She chose to anchor, not because she lacked ambition, but because she understood fragility. An early academic career can collapse under pressure. Missed conferences, missed deadlines, missed publications. One unstable year can ripple for decades. So she rearranged her dreams. She learned about individualized education plans. She attended school meetings armed with folders and highlighted research. She practiced social scripts with Ashley in the living room, acting out playground scenarios like rehearsals for a play. Michael tried to insist she not give up her education permanently. "You can go back," he would say. "We'll find a way." She would smile. Later. Later became years. Years became decades. By her mid-40s, Jennifer had become exceptionally skilled at invisibility. Not the kind that makes you unseen in a cruel way, the kind that makes you essential but unnoticed. Michael's career flourished. He secured tenure, published articles, spoke at conferences across the country. At faculty dinners, colleagues praised his intellect. They often turned to Jennifer with polite curiosity. "And what do you do?" She answered simply, "I raised our daughter." It was the truth. Ashley thrived in her own time, with patience, therapy, and fierce maternal advocacy. She learned to navigate the world in her own way. She graduated high school with honors, studied graphic design, built a career built on detail and visual precision, a skill that suited her beautifully. Jennifer never regretted staying, not once. But sometimes, late at night after everyone slept, she would open one of her old textbooks, Environmental Systems, 3rd edition, and read about watershed restoration or atmospheric chemistry. Not to study, just to remember. There is a difference between regret and remembrance. She did not regret, but she remembered who she had been. At 54, Jennifer attended her college reunion. Michael insisted. "You should see everyone," he told her. "You were one of the smartest people in that department." She laughed it off, but she went. Campus looked smaller than she remembered, the maple trees taller, the buildings older. Former classmates spoke about consulting firms, government research, academic posts. One woman described a watershed sustainability project in Oregon. A man discussed climate modeling advancements. They asked about Jennifer's life. She told them about Ashley, about Michael, about the moves and the milestones. They nodded warmly. "Family is everything," someone said. She agreed. Yet, driving home that evening, something pressed gently against her chest. It was not jealousy. It was not bitterness. It was awareness. She had stepped off a path, and that path had continued without her. Michael squeezed her hand at a red light. "It's never too late," he said. She stared ahead through the windshield. "It feels late," she whispered. He did not argue. He just held her hand tighter. Two years later, Michael collapsed in his office between classes. A massive heart attack. No warning, no time for goodbye. Jennifer remembered the hospital corridor's cold shine, the way the doctor avoided direct eye contact before speaking, the way sound seemed to dull, as if cotton had been packed into her ears. After the funeral, the house filled with casseroles and condolences. Colleagues described Michael as brilliant, dedicated, transformational. Students spoke about how he changed their lives. Jennifer sat in the front pew, hands folded, listening to the story of a man she knew intimately and yet suddenly only through the lens of others. When the last guest left and the final dish was washed, she stood alone in the kitchen. One plate, one glass, one fork. For nearly 4 decades, her days had been structured around someone else's needs. Now the structure had collapsed. Grief came in waves, but beneath grief was something more unsettling. Space. Too much space. 3 weeks after the funeral, Jennifer forced herself into Michael's study. She had avoided it. His glasses still rested on the desk. A half-read journal lay open beside them. She opened drawers slowly, sorting papers. In the back of the lowest drawer, beneath old conference programs, she found an envelope. Inside was a photograph. A campus lawn, bright spring sunlight, students scattered across the grass. And there, center frame, a 19-year-old girl with wind-tangled brown hair and fierce, unfiltered ambition in her eyes. Jennifer. She was mid-laugh, textbooks pressed against her chest. She remembered that day. They had just completed a field study near a wetland restoration site. She had argued passionately about groundwater contamination and future policy implications. She had believed she would change something in the world. She sat down in Michael's desk chair, holding the photograph. "When did you disappear?" she whispered to the girl in the image. The question lingered. Had she disappeared, or had she simply transformed? She did not know, but for the first time since the funeral, something other than grief filled her chest. Curiosity. It began innocently. One Tuesday morning, she drove to the university where Michael had taught. She told herself she just wanted to feel close to him. Campus buzzed with movement, backpacks, coffee cups, laughter. She entered the library. The scent of paper and polished wood wrapped around her like memory. She chose a table near a window and opened a journal from a display shelf. Environmental Sustainability Review. The language felt familiar, technical, precise, alive. She read for an hour, then 2. When she finally stood, her back ached slightly, but her mind felt alert in a way it had not in years. She returned the next day, and the next. Soon she began checking out books, highlighting passages, taking notes. One afternoon, she overheard a group of students debating water retention models near a study table. Without planning to, she paused. "You're missing seasonal groundwater variation," she said quietly. They turned, startled. A conversation unfolded, animated, engaged, intellectual. When it ended, one student asked, "Are you a professor?" Jennifer laughed softly. "No, you should be." She walked to her car with something blooming in her chest. Possibility. It frightened her. That night, she called Ashley. "I've been going to the university library," Jennifer began cautiously. "That's good," Ashley replied. "Dad would like that." "I've been reading environmental journals again." A pause. "And?" Ashley asked. Jennifer stared at the kitchen window, at the reflection of her own face in the dark glass. "I don't know what I'm thinking," she admitted. "It's ridiculous." "What is?" Jennifer inhaled slowly. "What if I went back?" Silence. Then Ashley said, without hesitation, "Mom, yes. I'm 56. So? I haven't taken a math class in 35 years. You taught me algebra when I struggled in high school," Ashley reminded her gently. "You can learn anything." Jennifer's voice trembled. "What if I fail?" Ashley's response was soft but steady. "Then you will have tried, and you taught me that trying matters more than being certain." Jennifer closed her eyes. Michael's voice echoed in memory. "It's never too late." For the first time, the sentence did not feel like comfort. It felt like instruction. The fear. Hope is often followed quickly by fear. The next morning, Jennifer woke with doubt crawling along her spine. Who was she to return to classrooms filled with students younger than her daughter? What if her brain was slower now? What if she embarrassed herself? She imagined walking into a lecture hall and feeling every eye turn toward her gray-streaked hair. Insecurity is loud, but regret is louder. She held the photograph again, the 19-year-old girl on the lawn. "You don't get to haunt me forever," Jennifer whispered. She opened her laptop, searched for enrollment information at the local community college, refresher courses, algebra, statistics, introductory biology. Her cursor hovered over the registration button. Her heart pounded the way it had decades earlier in a dorm room holding a pregnancy test. Life rarely gives us the same kind of risk twice. But it does offer different ones. Jennifer clicked. Enroll. The confirmation email arrived seconds later. She stared at it for a long time. She was terrified. She was exhilarated. She was beginning. If you are listening to this right now, perhaps with a cup of coffee beside you, perhaps in a quiet house that once felt louder, I want you to picture something. Picture walking into a classroom at 56 years old, not to drop off a grandchild, not to attend a community lecture, but to sit down, to take notes, to begin again. That is where Jennifer Smith found herself on a mild September morning, standing outside a low brick building at the local community college, her hands wrapped tightly around the straps of a brand new backpack. She had not worn a backpack since the late 1980s. It felt strangely symbolic, strangely heavy. The parking lot buzzed with movement, car doors slamming, young voices laughing, music playing faintly from open windows. Students half her age hurried toward the entrance, glancing at phones, balancing coffee cups. Jennifer stood still for a moment. She could leave. No one would know. She could tell Ashley she changed her mind. She could say it felt impractical, unrealistic, unnecessary. But deep down, she knew something. If she turned around now, she would carry that unfinished longing for the rest of her life. And at 56, she understood something about time. There was less of it ahead than behind. She took a breath, and she walked inside. The algebra classroom smelled faintly of dry erase markers and old textbooks. Rows of desks faced a whiteboard already covered in equations. Jennifer chose a seat in the second row, not too close, not too far. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened her notebook. Around her, students chattered about dorm assignments and weekend plans. One young man dropped into the chair beside her, earbuds still in place. He glanced at her briefly, then offered a polite smile. "Good morning." Two simple words, not judgment, not confusion, just normal. Jennifer felt her shoulders loosen a fraction. When the professor entered, a woman in her early 40s with sharp glasses and kind eyes, she began without ceremony. "Math is not about age," the professor said. "It's about practice." Jennifer almost laughed. She felt as if the sentence had been placed there just for her. The first equation appeared on the board. Her heart raced. She had not solved for X in over 3 decades. Her pencil hovered uncertainly, but she remembered something from raising Ashley. Complex things are broken down into small, manageable steps. So she began, slowly, carefully, one step at a time. The first few weeks were humbling. Jennifer studied longer than anyone else in class. Concepts that once felt intuitive now required repetition. There were evenings she sat at her kitchen table longer after sunset, reading the same paragraph 3 times. Her eyes would blur, her confidence would flicker. Once, after scoring 72 on a quiz, she closed herself in the bathroom and cried quietly. Not because 72 was failure, but because it felt like proof of her fear. Maybe she was too old. Maybe her brain had slowed. Maybe this was foolish. That night, Ashley called. "How did the quiz go?" her daughter asked. Jennifer hesitated. "I didn't do as well as I hoped." Ashley paused. "Mom, do you remember when I was 8 and couldn't read aloud in class without freezing?" Jennifer smiled faintly. "You practiced every night, and you told me progress mattered more than perfection." There was a silence between them, the kind filled with memory. "You get to take your own advice now," Ashley said gently. Jennifer laughed through tears. Fair enough. The next morning she returned to class, not because she was confident, but because she was committed. By mid-semester, something shifted. Jennifer noticed she listened differently than the other students. Where they rushed, she reflected. Where they memorized formulas, she asked why those formulas worked. Her life experience became an asset. In biology lab, when younger students grew impatient with detailed observation, Jennifer leaned closer to the microscope. Patterns mattered, details mattered. She had spent decades noticing subtle changes in her daughter's mood, tiny environmental triggers, small victories invisible to others. That attentiveness translated into academic strength. One afternoon, the professor paused beside her lab station. "Your analysis is thorough," she said quietly. "Have you considered pursuing this further?" The words lingered long after class ended. Further. For the first time, Jennifer allowed herself to imagine not just finishing refresher courses, but applying to a full degree program. The thought was terrifying and thrilling. Winter brought shorter days and longer shadows. Grief has a way of resurfacing when the holidays arrive. Jennifer decorated the house alone for the first time. She hung Michael's favorite ornament, a small wooden globe, and held it in her palm longer than necessary. "You'd think I was crazy," she murmured softly, but in her heart she sensed something different. Michael had always admired courage, and this, walking into classrooms at 56, was courage. Still, doubt returned often. One icy January morning, she slipped slightly in the campus parking lot. A young student rushed to steady her. "Careful, ma'am." The word "ma'am" stung more than the fall. Age was visible in ways she could not hide. Her knees ached after long lab sessions. Her eyes required stronger reading glasses. She sometimes felt tired in ways 20-year-olds never seemed to. That evening, she sat in her car and questioned everything again. Why put herself through this? Wasn't she allowed to rest? Hadn't she earned comfort? The answer surprised her. Comfort was not what she wanted. Purpose was, and purpose requires effort, even at 56, especially at 56. In early spring, Jennifer filled out the university application for the environmental science program. Her fingers hovered over the section asking about educational history. She typed the dates from the 1980s, paused, then continued. There was no box to explain decades spent raising a daughter with unique needs, no checkbox for managing a household through financial instability, no line item for late-night tutoring sessions at a kitchen table. But those years were education of another kind. She submitted the application, then waited. Waiting at 56 feels different than waiting at 20. At 20, life feels expansive, infinite. At 56, time feels precise, measured. Every month carries weight. When the acceptance email arrived 3 weeks later, Jennifer did not scream. She did not jump. She simply covered her mouth with her hand and whispered, "Oh." Tears slid quietly down her cheeks. She was not reclaiming youth. She was reclaiming herself. The first day at the university felt larger than the community college. Bigger buildings, bigger lecture halls, more noise. Jennifer stood at the edge of the quad watching students swirl around her like wind-driven leaves. For a moment, insecurity roared. "You don't belong here. You are too old. You are too late." She closed her eyes and imagined the 19-year-old version of herself. That girl had not been fearless. She had simply been willing. Jennifer opened her eyes and walked forward. Inside the lecture hall, she chose a seat near the middle, close enough to engage, far enough not to feel exposed. The professor began discussing climate resilience modeling and long-term sustainability planning. The terminology felt advanced, complex, demanding. Jennifer's pulse quickened. Then she did what she had done all year. She wrote the first sentence in her notebook, and then the second, one line at a time. Midway through the semester, students were assigned a major research presentation, 20 minutes, original analysis, peer review. Jennifer's topic: watershed sustainability in coastal regions. The night before her presentation, she barely slept. Old fears resurfaced like unwelcome guests. What if her voice shook? What if students saw her as an outsider? What if she confirmed every insecurity she had battled all year? She stood at the front of the classroom the next morning, hands resting lightly on the podium. The projector hummed behind her. 30 faces looked up, some curious, some neutral, some distracted. Jennifer inhaled slowly. She thought of sleepless nights with a newborn, of therapy sessions, of hospital corridors, of standing at her husband's grave. She was not fragile. She began speaking. Her voice trembled for the first minute, then steadied. She explained seasonal groundwater variation, long-term data projections, community impact strategies. She did not rush. She did not apologize for taking space. She finished with a simple sentence. Sustainability is not about reacting to crisis. It is about preparing long before the crisis arrives. Silence followed. Then applause. Not polite, genuine. One student raised his hand. That was the clearest explanation I've heard all semester. Jennifer smiled. Not wide, not triumphant, but certain. One evening, months later, Jennifer stayed late in the campus lab, analyzing water samples. Outside, autumn leaves drifted across the pavement. She stepped out into the cool air and looked up at the darkening sky. Grief still visited her. She still missed Michael's voice, but the silence no longer felt empty. It felt spacious. There is a difference. Empty feels hollow. Spacious feels open. Her phone buzzed. A message from Ashley. "Proud of you, Mom. Dad would be too." Jennifer typed back, "I'm proud of me too." It was a simple sentence, but it carried decades inside it. She realized something profound standing there under the autumn sky. Her life had not been delayed, it had been layered. The years raising Ashley were not detours, they were depth. The years supporting Michael were not absence, they were partnership. And now this chapter was not rebellion, it was continuation. She was not starting over, she was starting forward. If you are listening tonight, perhaps wondering whether it is too late to take that class, to write that book, to move to that new town, to begin again in any way, let Jennifer's story sit with you. Dreams do not expire. They wait. They wait through responsibility, through sacrifice, through grief, through quiet kitchens and long winters. They wait for the moment you decide you are allowed to return to them. At 56, Jennifer did not chase youth. She chose courage. And courage, at any age, changes everything. Because learning is not about how many years you have lived. It is about whether you are still willing to grow. And growth does not belong only to the young. It belongs to the brave. Even now, especially now. If this story meant something to you, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next one. And if you believe it's never too late to begin again, share this video with someone who might need that reminder today.